Former Chargers wide receiver is signing a one-year deal worth up to $15 million with the New York Jets, and the Jets have slowly but surely filled their holes during free agency, which gives them flexibility during the draft with their first overall pick.
New York Jets fans are done being optimistic. They had the most optimism out of any fan base and any franchise last year when this team traded for Aaron Rodgers. And so far, that trade just yielded a lot of unnecessary attention on Aaron Rodgers just trying to return from an Achilles tear prematurely. The season was more or less the same. They had to turn to Zach Wilson once again, and once again, they would miss the playoffs. They're hoping for it to be different this year, but New York Jets fans are very impatient. But I will say that I still believe that the New York Jets have one of the best GMs in the game. He just reminded us all that he is the best GM in the game. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop, like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! This is easily my favorite promotion. All Caitlin Clark needs is a single point for her square to convert, which means we only need to make one more pick on Prize Picks in order to 3x our money. You guys have been making a lot of money on Prize Picks, and if you guys need help making picks, I give away my picks for free on my Instagram story at @TheFlightMike. And if you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, right now when you use my promo code FlightMike, you get a deposit match up until $100. Make sure you check out my story right now to see if I entered my Caitlin Clark pick, and thank you Prize Picks for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I know I may have said something bold in the introduction of this video, but if there's one thing I could appreciate Joe Douglas for, it's the fact that every single time his team needs something, he identifies the need and immediately gives it to his team. Sometimes he misses, like selecting Zach Wilson with the number 2 overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft, but I think he more than made up for it in the 2022 NFL draft, considering that he hit on all 3 of his first round picks. I mean, Sauce Gardner at the number 4 overall pick, Garrett Wilson a few picks later, Jermaine Johnson, who broke out this past year at the end of the first round. And that's before we mentioned Breece Hall in the second round. When quarterbacks seem to be the problem, despite rookie of the year seasons from Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, Joe Douglas swung a brilliant trade for Aaron Rodgers, and he even protected his team by making sure that Aaron Rodgers had to play a specific amount of snaps for one of those picks to convert. And luckily for the Jets, he protected himself, because instead of giving up 2 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers, now that 2024 conditional pick turns into a second-round pick since Rodgers didn't play 65% of his snaps. But last year, we saw a multitude of problems. From the very first snap, it was clear that the New York Jets offensive line was terrible, as you could tell from Aaron Rodgers inevitably tearing his Achilles. There was questions about other weapons on the roster apart from Garrett Wilson. Sure, you had Breece Hall, but Allen Lazard didn't really look like a solid wide receiver 2 option, but maybe that could have been because Aaron Rodgers wasn't throwing him the ball. So entering this season, the New York Jets had their work cut out for them. And the good news is there were many ways that they could go about it. They could target wide receiver or offensive line in the NFL draft, or they could look to free agency. And to be honest, it seems like they addressed a lot of these positions in free agency. Last week, we found out that the New York Jets signed Tyron Smith of the Dallas Cowboys, who, when healthy, is one of the best left tackles in the entire NFL, assuming he's healthy. The same can be said about Morgan Moses, who they also signed to play right tackle for Aaron Rodgers. But they didn't finish there. They brought in a capable backup quarterback in Tyrod Taylor. They signed John Simpson, Javon Kinlaw, Isaiah Oliver, and Leki Fotu. With all those changes being made, Daniel Jeremiah made the boldest prediction in his mock draft today, saying that the New York Jets may trade up to number 5 to select Marvin Harrison Jr. to pair Marvin Harrison Jr. with his ex-teammate Garrett Wilson, and to give the New York Jets one of the most fun offenses in the entire league. But it seems like that's not going to be the case anymore, at least not out of necessity, because the New York Jets found a huge solution for the wide receiver position. It has been a very brutal offseason for the Los Angeles Chargers in some respects, and I don't want to sit here and say that the Chargers are making horrific mistakes with their roster, rather that the Chargers are entering an unfamiliar territory with their roster. You see, last week the Chargers had to make decisions on Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen. And my original guess was they were going to keep one edge rusher and keep one wide receiver. Ultimately, they parted with both of their wide receivers. They traded Keenan Allen for a 4th-round pick to the Chicago Bears, which saved them $23 million of cap space, and they also cut Mike Williams, which saved them $21 million of cap space. The reason they did this is twofold. One, historically, in a Greg Roman Harbaugh offense, whether that's John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh, you don't really see a wide receiver that is prolific. I mean, we're talking about wide receivers like Hollywood Brown or Anquan Bolden, for crying out loud. These offenses are known for their run game, and the wide receivers serve as complements to the run game. It's going to be a pretty interesting era for Justin Herbert, but the main reason they did this was to save cap space. A lot of people are projecting that the Chargers select a wide receiver with the 5th overall pick. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even select a wide receiver with the 5th overall pick, just simply because the wide receiver has never been that important in a Greg Roman offense. And I know that sounds strange, but it's my own prediction. I could be wrong. With that being said, we found out what the future of Keenan Allen was going to be. He's probably going to be catching passes from none other than Caleb Williams. Who knows? Maybe the Chicago Bears select Malik Neighbors with the 9th overall pick, or Rome Odunze. I don't think you could really go wrong there. But in the case of Mike Williams, we don't really know his future. At least we didn't know until now. My original prediction for this was Mike Williams might sign with the Kansas City Chiefs. What better revenge than to catch passes from Patrick Mahomes and face off against your former team twice a year? But I was wrong. That's not where Mike Williams went. He was supposed to visit the Carolina Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he ultimately made his decision in New York, because the New York Jets are signing Mike Williams to a 1-year deal worth up to $15 million. Now, I absolutely love this deal for multiple reasons. One, Mike Williams gets to pair with a Hall of Fame QB, and he's not necessarily going to be the wide receiver one in this offense, but I expect him to receive a high volume of targets if he could stay healthy. And I think that's the huge theme for the New York Jets this year. You have a lot of talented players that are incredible at playing the game of football at their position, but historically have had injury issues. I mean, Aaron Rodgers coming off of a torn Achilles, maybe that's going to affect his mobility. Mike Williams has recovered from a torn ACL, but throughout his career, he's had trouble staying on the field. Tyron Smith more recently hasn't been able to play full seasons. If all of these individuals could stay healthy, then there's no question in my mind that the New York Jets could be a favorite to at least enter the wild card in their division. Bear in mind, they're in the same division as the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. It's going to be pretty competitive there. But if everyone can stay healthy, then I see nothing but good things for this team. But the beauty of this move is you sign Mike Williams to a 1-year, $15 million contract, and it gives you options with the 10th overall pick. Maybe Brock Bowers falls to you at the 10th overall pick. Maybe you could go offensive lineman with the 10th overall pick. Maybe a wide receiver that has no business being there falls to your lap, and you could reset the clock at the wide receiver position, because you're going to have Garrett Wilson that is currently on a rookie scale contract, and then this brand new wide receiver that you select in the 1st round, and then maybe next year Mike Williams isn't on your roster anymore, but that's okay. There's so many directions that you could go here. And there's so much flexibility for the New York Jets, which is why this is a brilliant decision. For Mike Williams, he's just trying to do what Juju Smith-Schuster did with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's trying to hit the market, show off that he is a remarkable wide receiver, hit the open market again next year after a breakout season playing with a Hall of Fame QB, and hopefully secure a long-term bag. I think this is a home run for every single party involved. I don't blame Mike Williams for not going to Pittsburgh or Carolina. All 3 of these destinations are risky. His hope is that the New York Jets are the least risky. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this move. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.